Warning. It is the opinion of the Forestry Productions LLC and the Working Perspectives podcast that we should inform you that some of the language used in this recording could possibly be considered offensive. You have been warned, so if you decide to listen to the recording, then don't complain about the language. Hi, hello, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk to some real people about some real things, living real lives, doing real stuff. This is the Working Perspectives podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, accompanied today by jdub, Justin Richardson, Heartstopper, Jana Hehlo, and our special guest today is the one and only Bob Miles. You can find all our stuff and all our content and all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can also on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast, and you can join us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working P Pod. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email us at workperspectives@gmail.com, and please like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you this sweet content. Jalen Dub, how we doing, baby?
Feeling good, feeling great.
Looking good, looking great. Very nice. Jana, hello. How you doing?
So good. Feeling angelic.
Wow, looking angelic. Well, speaking of angelic, this is the Working Perspectives podcast. Let's get this thing started. Let's go.
It's our objective to be effective by voicing societies. Working perspective, exploring your day and how you get paid. Launching a new episode every Tuesday. Your day can transform while we inform with new episodes available on every platform. So check out our vibe and how we get live. Then do us a solid. Share and subscribe. Would you share it? Would you share it? Would you share it? Working Perspectives.
All right. Let me tell you a little something about our guest today. So Bob Miles is a buddy of mine I met at the gym at the Hehlo PA Academy. I'll tell you, it's one of those things where it's like when you click with someone right away, you're like, this guy, I like this freaking guy. He's got a jib. I like the cut of that jib. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So hit it off with Bob right away. Super nice guy, super good dude, really, really fun. But then also he had a show, and we'll get into talking about it. And he told me about the show and everything like that. And then I started hearing stories from him and background, and was like, wow, this guy's just got it all going for him, So really, really excited when I could book him to be on the show. And it was a long time coming, and super excited he's here. Very thankful he's here. And Bob, thanks for coming on. I just want to get this thing going. And before we get started, I would just like to ask, what movie do you think is better? The Godfather Part 1 or The Godfather Part 2?
Part 1, man, because that brings you into Part 2. See,
Wow.
I don't remember enough about Part 2, but I just remember Part 1.
You hold your tongue, Justin.
And you know what else? I saw The Godfather Part 1 at the theater as a kid. My father took.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how long ago.
How old were you? Do you remember?
Oh, dude, I can barely remember how old I am today.
Yeah, how about it?
I was maybe 12 or 13. I don't know.
Right.
But it was in the
it'd be great if you were like 7 and your dad said.
It was wild, man. It was great. But I honestly don't remember Part 2. I've seen them all, but they all kind of blend together,
Sure.
But they're all great.
It's all one big great American tale. And then they remade it with the Mouskowitz and Fievel Mouskowitz and American Tail. Great stuff. But okay, next question. Cheetos. Do you like crunchy or puffed?
Puffed. That's what my daughter's got. Yeah.
Wow. Justin, what do we got here? All right. Wow. Bob.
My daughters get them. That's why.
True. Hey, all right.
So whatever
you have your reasons. You have your reasons.
I don't have a choice.
No, you're everything's made up for you at this point, you know, when you have daughters, you're done.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Daughters and a wife, you're not making any choices for the rest of your life, pal.
No.
All right.
Changing my diapers, maybe.
Yeah, how about it? Okay. This is the one that's really gonna split the room, Bob.
Okay.
When you eat wing, are you drums or flats?
Drums.
Oh,
Nice.
Did I screw that up too?
No,
Nobody goes 3 for 3.
no one has ever gotten the jdub cycle. No one. You were so close.
So close.
I'll tell you, the puff
been best
renaissance. The puff renaissance is alive.
It's come back.
Yeah.
Wow, has it come back?
The first 50 episodes I was on, no one said puff.
No one.
Really?
No one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This will be like our 170th or 100 whatever episode.
Oh,
And Justin, Justin's been on almost a year.
It's not a
FYI.
renaissance. It's also 7 people, but it's a renaissance.
Well, no,
The
I
renaissance
mean,
at 7.
it went when it's the first 30, say crunchy, that we thought there was never a chance for puffed, and now we're getting puffed every week. It's like, what is
Are
going
you?
on here? Oh
well,
my gosh.
If you had my daughters on, man, it'd be puffs, you know?
Yeah. I
So-
mean, it says a lot about you, Justin.
It's not a great.
Hey, they're
What
both great. They're both
What
great, you know?
one of them we found out, shout out, I guess we won't say her name, but shout out, she's a genius, and she's she saved the show. But okay, and then what about amusement parks or water parks? What do you prefer, Bob?
I love water parks. I love both.
Hell yeah.
I love both.
Whoa, I didn't like that.
But I love Camel Beach. When
Oh.
I go up there, man, it's like my wife says, "Oh man, it's dirty. You're in with a lot of people." I have a really funny
Yeah.
story about that. You want to hear it?
Yeah, of course.
I went up, like, my one daughter's 19, so
Okay.
she was like 5 or 6, and my neighbor, he adopted 2 from China. So we
Okay.
adopted 2 girls. Janet, my wife, and I adopted 2 girls. So
Okay.
so I go with Jim, and he's a big dude. I mean, he's like 6'2".
Your
like
neighbor is Jim.
yeah, Jim.
Okay.
300 pounds, and we're walking around the park with 2 Chinese girls, and everyone's staring at us, man. All the
Oh.
guys are looking at us. I can't figure it out. It wasn't it wasn't until the end of the day I realized they thought we were a gay couple with 2. I'm serious. I said, Jim, I said, guess what? He said, what? I said, they're looking at us because they think we're gay. They think we're married. And
Oh.
we got to, you know.
Yeah. And you adopted 2.
So fun.
It's
Oh,
like,
that's great.
yeah, really.
I love
man,
that.
Really.
Jim would have been the bottom.
Would have been
I was
neither.
thinking they thought you guys were creeps.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
The pro-
that too, you
yeah.
know.
But
So-
nice. So, man, that is good. Okay, and then what about pancakes or waffles, Bob?
You know what? It depends. Like if I go to Perkins, sometimes I'll get a waffle, but I love pancakes, man. Especially when I'm down south. I'll go to Waffle House is big, but I'll get pancakes. I love pancakes.
Yeah.
So
Would have been 5 for 5, Bob. If you
Wow.
just said
Am I?
flats.
If you just would have had
You
flats.
just said flats. God damn it.
See, I'm trying to play both sides of the room because I said
Yeah.
waffles.
No,
And
the
then
other side of the room is
pancakes.
animals, Bob. Stay with me.
I'm fading fast.
We're sophisticated gentlemen.
Wow,
Those two
I
are.
cannot believe he's like, I'll tell you, it's like Yahtzee and having one away from hitting Yahtzee. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Coulda had it
unreal.
all.
Could have had the jdub cycle. No one's ever hit for the jdub cycle. You're pretty close.
Well,
though.
I'm going for it, man.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's keep it going. So, Bob, you're the best, dude. Thanks for coming on. Super excited to
Thank
get
you.
into this. So, I'll start out right away. So, you were born in Abington and grew up in Warminster.
I was born in Abington.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably
In
explains a lot.
1985.
Oh man, 1958, dude.
You gotta
You
be
guys
on
are
it.
weird.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know.
Were you born
Yeah,
in
I'm
May?
64. I know, February 16th. And I'll
Okay.
give you my social.
And your address.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Code to your
okay.
garage.
Yeah. So okay, so you're growing up in Warminster, right? And you had I'll tell you, so like you said, you were born in 58, but things were a little different back then. right?
different.
So they had you like in school, it was the discipline was a lot different, right?
Oh my God. I was in trouble like all the time, and everyone knew me. And I was so we had Mr. Dekatowski, and he was a tough dude. I remember in 6th grade, he grabbed Barry Harris, slammed Barry's head down on the tile where the heat comes out on the side by the windows.
What?
Oh yeah, they could do that all the time. Slammed him down and held him and was cursing at him, let him up and went back to teaching. Oh man, they had paddles. They had paddles with holes in them, like 12 holes, a dozen holes, so it would go fast.
So the wind would like it was more aerodynamic.
Yeah. But get this, man. We had swimming, and this is at Law College Junior High. So every week, man, or twice a week, they make us stand, and we were totally naked. Like, I don't know, like 50 guys, kids, 7th grade, 8th grade, naked, standing for like 10 minutes. You talk about, man, I never had a more awkward experience. Waiting to get my bathing suit. They had them in these like white cloth bins, and you had to stand there. So I'll tell you why. Because
they're just
we would swim
it's
in
Dick
the
Day this year.
Yeah, really. Like
they get all excited. They bring the chart out. They're like, Jeffrey's coming along well.
The
Like, I got $50 on Schwartz. I was way wrong. Kid's hung like a horse. Didn't see it coming.
I didn't know why they had. I didn't know why they had cameras, man, and Vaseline, the whole bit. You know?
You better stop.
So anyway,
wait. So hold on. They had all they had like the classes swim trunks. Everyone, I guess you just shared trunks. So there's like a big bin of trunks.
Right.
So they would have you all get naked, stand by the wall, and one by one go get your trunks.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't they just have you keep your clothes on and give you the trunks when you first walked in?
Hey, can you just hand me the trunks?
Call them. This is like 1970.
Like, look, you gotta be naked if you want these trunks, Bob.
Really. And I'm like, in 7th,
the most awkward.
Petrified. Most awkward, man,
Yeah.
So
That's awful.
But what's worse is we would swim, right? And then whoever was the last out of the pool, and there was always one person was last, had to get paddled. So they enjoyed it, man. But they brought those red the boards you have when you swim. Like if you can't swim for older ladies, they would bring them out. Yeah, paddle board, right? That's what it is. Yeah. And just paddle you like 3 times as hard as they could. And all you had, it was like you were naked, So I got that a lot because I was last and other guys were last. And we'd be petrified. You knew you were going to get it. So yeah. And then I was always called down to the disciplinarian, Mr. Dekatowski. And I'll tell you how out of control it was. Bucky Clark was the
Barry Harris and Bucky Clark. I mean,
Bucky Clark,
these names are just great.
Was the president of the school or principal, right?
Yeah.
So what he did, he decided to make, and you can look this up on Google, to make Law College in 1970 the most crowded school as an experiment in all of Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania is big. There's thousands of schools, thousands. So they built portables, and they brought, Lacey Park, Warminster Heights, very impoverished area in Warminster. So you had we're like middle, lower class, but these were like very poor people, and they were tough, man. So they came in, they were always fist fighting. Mr. D one time grabbed one of the kids. He had his hair like Prince Valiant and said, "I don't like your hair." And he cut it. And he lived in Lacey Park. The father came in, said, "Mr. D, I'm so-and-so," and punched him in the eye. He had a shiner like that for weeks. I saw him. I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Remember, you heard of Muhammad Ali, right?" He laughed it off, But because I was in there all the time getting paddled, And the really tough guy, he's dead today, Greg DiStefano. He ended up in prison, but he was a tough dude. But you got him in private. Like we would be pulled into the room, and he'd pull out the paddle, and Greg would break down like a little girl crying, like a little sissy, just crying his eyes out. And I'm here like, Greg, get a hold of yourself, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
You're like,
so-
Greg, relax. It's only got 10 holes. It's not that aerodynamic.
Really,
You
really.
know.
But that was like every day they were paddling people, you know?
Oh.
So yeah.
Could you
It was
imagine like
Wow.
they're in the teacher's lounge, right? Like I'm assuming the shop teacher was like every teacher's best friend. He's like, look, I'm gonna customize a paddle for you. It's gonna have
Oh my
10
God.
holes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be mahogany. It's gonna be you're gonna whack the shit out of these kids.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
mahogany would hurt.
oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
So that's
So-
nuts. I'll tell you this though. Shout out to Prince Valiant's dad, because if someone did that to my kid, I would beat the
You do
fucking
it too.
shit out
Yeah.
of him.
Yeah, I
would
know.
Murder
No,
them.
I
you
know.
already
He-
know Jack would.
Yeah.
He came in
Yeah.
and just
Oh,
and just
Jack
sucker
Nancy?
punched me. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
They both
Jana's
be down there.
Jana's dad's got a reputation for snapping necks and cashing checks, and it's pretty great.
Yeah, it took a
Pretty
lot
great.
of balls, you know. It took a lot of balls for Mr. D to do that.
Yeah,
So,
that honestly, I mean, it's just, you know, he's honestly like that kind of like if you're a middle school teacher, right? Like
Yeah.
high school is one thing because some of these
Right.
kids can hit back,
oh,
right?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
very, very
But
hard.
middle school, you're even the biggest kid in middle school. He's
Yeah.
still the smallest kid in a high school.
That's
you know what I
true,
mean?
man. That's
Right?
true.
Like, you know, like most of the
And-
time, at least.
And you know what? It was so overcrowded. Like we'd have showers and the showers were open. So
Yeah.
you'd be like with 20 kids in a shower, right?
Oof.
And there would always once a week be a fist fight between one of the Puerto Ricans and one
Yeah.
of the other guys, you know,
Yeah.
always like totally nude fist fights.
Yeesh.
Yeah, it was scary. It
And
was
they
like
wouldn't
prison,
they
man.
wouldn't break it up.
It was
They're
like-
standing there like, yeah, get him. Get him.
Oh man, slipping and sliding and fighting.
Oh.
And man, it was war. It was like prison.
Oh,
It was
God.
like I was living in prison, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So
Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah.
Never
You
forget.
don't want to
it,
fight
man.
naked.
No.
I never
time-
have.
One time,
Never
me and my stepbrother, who's like similar to my age, and then he's an older brother. Me and him get in a fight, and as the fight's going on, his older brother comes out of the shower in a towel and like jacks me up against the wall, and he's butt naked. Yeah, like at this, like it's fallen at this point. I'm just pinned against the wall. He's like, fight somebody your own size. I'm like, wow, I'm squeezing. I'm like, you're not my size. And I was like,
Who Nick did that?
yeah, Nick in a towel, just like one hand. I was like, this isn't like, you know, like this isn't fair.
Yeah.
Hey,
This is the
isn't
closest guy
fair.
to my size. I'm already fighting him.
Right.
This
right.
was a
right.
fair
Just
fight.
kick him in the balls, you know?
Yeah. Next
Uh,
time.
But I got a question for you. You're in a locker room
Okay.
and you're getting dressed, you're naked, and you
Sure.
got your little kid with you, and the little kid runs out.
Yeah.
And you got to get your kid.
Yeah.
So you have only a towel. What
Oh, boy.
part of you do you cover to run out in the middle of everybody to get your kid?
I mean, I'm just gonna wrap it up and run.
Yeah.
I hope.
But
Yeah,
in
you
what
just-
part? But you got a towel. So
You gotta
what
do the
part of
front.
you would you cover your face?
But
no one knows. Yeah, you cover. That's the answer, man. That's
Yeah.
it. One for one, right?
It'd be crazy if it happened twice and they'd be like, "Oh, lefty's back." Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
right. Really.
So, all right. Wow. I mean,
yeah.
holy crap. Freaking
So that-
school.
Yeah. So that was Warminster, Pennsylvania. Bedroom
Shout out.
community, you know, a nice place to grow up, but not today.
No.
You know. Yeah. No.
I didn't know.
So-
I didn't know Warminster was like that. Now that's great. I didn't know this too. I was
Well-
talking to someone I work with. Apparently, there's parts of Lancaster that are just like crazy bad, and I'm like, Lancaster, like,
Lancaster?
huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
My-
are we sure here?
No,
You
it's
know.
true. My daughter went to Millersville last year, and that's right in the center of Lancaster. I heard the same thing. Yeah,
Wow.
it's like, oh yeah, man. There's a guy was driving around with a rifle, shooting at the dorms at Millersville. It was in the
What?
paper. Yeah, I'm serious, man. I don't know what type of
Whoa.
rifle, but yeah. So
Man.
yeah, you get crazies everywhere. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, true.
So,
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking to three of them. So okay, let's keep it moving then.
Okay.
So-
Janet must be in the room because it ain't me.
Yeah, okay. So I want to talk about this. Your dad taught boxing in the basement of your house, and like
Yes.
he boxed when he was younger and things like that. And he instilled a love of boxing into you. So what was that like, as a kid, seeing that, like, because I'll tell you, you were in the golden age, brother. You were
Yeah.
living the dream, especially
I was.
at this time. Imagine this, right? Everyone's heard of Marvin Hagler, right? Marvin Hagler is originally from Massachusetts, right? And he wanted to be the middleweight world champion, right? There was besides Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Roberto Duran,
All great.
the rest of the top 10 were based out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
if you wanted a shot at the middleweight crown, you had to come through Philadelphia. And Philadelphia still is and was back then the number one boxing city in the world.
It's
right?
the boxing capital of the world, man.
And
it is.
And like there's a good reason for it. It's very storied. But so Hagler came down here and he made it through the middleweight division. But that's why when he came out, he was, as good as he was. But you got to see that live, like fights at the Spectrum. If you made it to the Spectrum, you were, on top of the world. So go ahead. How your dad, he taught boxing.
Yeah,
he had some fighters. So how'd it go?
My dad was a shorter guy. And so he had a short complex, but he grew up.
But you're like 6'2", right?
No, I used to be like 6'1", but now that I'm older, I'm just about 6. It's amazing, man.
Me too.
You keep shrinking,
I'm just about 6. I'm just about 6 foot. I'm 5'11". I'm
Matt's
a very
5'8".
God damn it, Jana. I am 5'11".
He wears a 9 sneaker.
Right, a 9
Look,
sneaker.
I'm in double
with
digits.
heels.
You
With
son of
He's
a
got
bitch.
lifts in his shoes.
Either way, everybody
Yeah.
knows I'm 5'11". And so your dad was a little bit of a shorter guy, had to kind of,
he fought, and this is where, I think the term prize fighting came from, was they would fight for money in the Depression. That's how he made money, So he had a lot of fights under him. And then when he got older, he decided he worked full time, but he had this love for boxing. So he put a heavy bag. I don't think we had a speed bag. That was it. Those two things. And we had regular ceilings. And this is crazy. My brothers would get condoms, fill them with water, put them on, we had cinder block, and shoot a shotgun in the basement at them. And so the walls were filled, the cinder block was filled with holes. I'm serious. I'm not kidding you, man. Because
what did the water just like a target?
Yeah,
it was a target.
It's a target. It's a target. Yeah, we were crazy. I had 2 older brothers, man. So anyway,
wow.
So my father had to keep us in line. We were like out of control, right?
Yeah,
so anyway, he had fighters come down, not a lot, but enough.
Okay.
And he had one that I went to Albany to see fight. And the guy was visibly like shaken up. When he was in the ring, I said, there's no way. He was a big dude. His name was Ken. I said, there's no way he's going to win. A black guy came out and tore him up like in the first round because it was like his first fight and he quit after that. Yeah. And my father, I don't think he really wanted any of us to fight because he went through that. And if you go through that, you kind of want to keep your sons protected. But at the same time, he wanted us to know self-defense, but he never pushed it on us. So, youth is wasted on the young. I had the perfect opportunity and I ended up doing it at work at PennDOT through Reggie Jackson, Reggie knew Emil Griffith, he knew Benny Briscoe, he knew all the guys because he grew up in that neighborhood and he was that age, So he would take me up during work. And when I told him I saw all these guys when I was a kid, we hit it off really well. He took me up and taught me boxing before I came to you, Matt,
Okay.
And that's one reason I have to say, Matt, I'm so impressed with you as a boxer, but also as a coach, for one word you would use that was so authentic. You would just come out and naturally say, babe. You always said hey, babe. And I didn't hear that since my father. Nobody says that. And I said, this guy's the real deal, you know? You are, man. And I have to tell you, you worked my ass off so hard. Some I couldn't even get up. I
Hey,
mean,
man,
you had it.
I learned from your middle school teacher how to do it.
Yeah, you would paddle us.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
No, but
you're the
so-
best, dude. Thanks for saying that.
So later he took me when I was like 10, 11, maybe younger, to the Spectrum.
Your dad would take
my
you.
father. Yeah, my
Okay.
father with a bunch of
And
other guys.
So he didn't want you guys to get into it, but he wanted you guys to be able to take care of yourselves. But he
Right.
still had a love for the sport.
Yeah, and
I'll
got
tell you,
that one.
I'll tell you this, man. So the way it used to be back in the day, and this was fascinating. You would have to get a sponsor for your fight. So if you're talking like John L. Sullivan, Gentleman Jim Corbett, things like that, right? Like, say you're the John L. Sullivan, you're the heavyweight champ, right? Or actually, you guys seen Cinderella Man, right? James J.
Yeah,
Braddock.
oh, that's great.
Okay.
Man.
This
Great.
this is a genius move. Listen to this, right? James J. Braddock, he was Cinderella Man, won the title, was able to kind of coast and retire off of that, didn't have to fight again, made it through the depression, was on top of the world, had tons of money, tons of notoriety, tons of recognition, hero to the people, right? And he was the champ, right?
Yeah.
There's another up and coming fighter named Joe Louis, right? Who ends up being one of the best heavyweights of all time. And Joe Louis is like begging to fight Braddock, because it's like he was the lineal champion. He never lost the belt, right? And Louis is like, please, if I beat you, I can then be the champ and no one can argue and all this stuff, right? But mind you, Braddock hadn't had a fight in like 10 years, right? So Braddock's like, fine, I'll fight you, but I get 10% of your future purses for the rest of your career, right?
Oh.
And Joe Louis would end up being the biggest fighter of his era. He was like, Tyson and Holyfield and everything on steroids. So yeah, dude, genius move. But back in the day, what I was going to say is, back in the day, you would get a sponsor, right? So say like a guy could legit duck you saying like, your purse isn't big enough, right? Like, you don't have enough money to fight against me, is what he's saying.
Okay.
Really, he's like, I wouldn't, like, why would I fight you? You only have $20, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you would get a sponsor, and the sponsor would be like, okay, here's $40,000 on you, and then he would have to match the 40,000, and then it would be winner take all, right? It's not like now they have like guaranteed purses, right? You know what I mean? But could
Right.
you imagine how different fights would be now if it was winner take all? One, you couldn't leave it up to decision. It would have to go to knockout, right? Like, because decision, you would get screwed. You like legit, like, you couldn't leave it in anyone's house. But if they did winner take all purses, it would have to be till someone knocked out. Like, could you imagine a guy's getting his ass kicked for like 15 rounds, and then he has the better cardio and is able to take it to like the 20th round and beat, like,
Oh my God.
that would be like, if they brought that back, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I had so many people die in the ring and after the ring,
yeah.
I mean,
Dude,
really.
the rules back then were crazy. I think I've said this before. Back then, right, in like the Jack Dempsey era, right, he fought this guy named Jess Willard. Jess Willard knocked out Jack Johnson, and he was like this dude. He was like, imagine in the early 1900s, someone 6'7", right? Like, they're the biggest person alive, right? Like, he was this dude, Jess Willard, massive dude, right? Dempsey is probably like my height, like 6 foot, something like that. And Dempsey knocked him down. It was like 14 times or something in in the first few rounds. And what they would do, the rule was this, is that as soon as your hands left the canvas, as soon as the person who got knocked down, hands left the canvas, the other person was allowed to start hitting them. Right. So it's not like when they stand back up and the ref cleans them off. They're on their hands and knees. They get up to their feet. As soon as their hands leave the canvas, some dude is punching down, which means you have more force, and just wabash, right? Like,
oh my goodness.
And they were wondering, like, why are guys dying in here? Like, what is going on?
Right.
Yeah.
If you can stand up, you can eat a punch.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah,
They
but
didn't have to be standing even. They just had to be like, take it off a little bit. They're still bent over, right?
Oh, 100%. Dude, if you're a guy, you're timing it like, let the hands come up. Come on, like, yeah, just and wham, dude. Could you imagine just like also those gloves? It's not like they were Grant, you know what I mean, like Grant gloves or anything, or fightings or something, whatever.
Hayabusa.
Yeah, it's not like they were anything good. It was legit like a sack with some padding, and they would doctor them all the time. And guys would have they would wear hold bolts in their hands to make their fists harder.
Gosh.
Or
And they'd
cut
have-
the eyes with, with the stitching. And
and they have wet wraps, and they would put shit on their stuff to make their eyes, but all that is legit. That is not a lie. They were doing that, especially if it's not a big time fight. If it's a lower one, they're cheating like motherfuckers. But,
and then they have to get up and go to work the next day.
Yeah,
too.
Crazy.
Yeah, try to do that.
Yeah. So okay. This is the time of the show. It's everybody's new favorite segment. It's the segment we all love, the best segment in town. It's the Jalen Dub question segment.
Bob, you watch Westworld?
I have not. I'm sorry.
You have a concept of what Westworld is?
Not really. I'm sorry.
It's
I
a
love
time.
Ozark.
That's fair. It's a time era amusement park where you can't get injured, right? But you can enjoy all the thrills of said time era. So you can go to the Wild West, you can go to the medieval times, you can go to a samurai world. Which one would you choose?
Samurai.
Whoa,
Same, yo.
Yeah,
I like it.
Dude, I like Bob.
I'm
Me and Bob have all the
Yeah.
same answers.
Dude, you and Bob.
I only made this question because I want to go to samurai world.
If you just liked flats over drums, Bob, you'd be Justin's long lost dad.
Right. Well, you know what I have to tell you.
Dude, I have so many. I can just add you right in.
I saw the original Westworld at the movies at the Barnes
With
Cinema.
Yul Brynner?
The ones with Yul Brynner,
I saw that. Yeah, it was great, man. I don't
Same
remember
concept.
much. Yeah, same concept. It was great.
Yo,
It was
dude,
awesome.
Yul Brynner, shout out, incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Magnificent Seven, incredible,
Yeah.
incredible movie.
Right. You're too young to know all that.
I love, dude. Magnificent Seven might be one of my favorite movies ever. Dude, had everybody: Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson. It was loaded. Kidding me?
Yeah. Steve McMahon, there was a class act.
Dude,
Right.
that guy. Talk about just slaying.
Yeah. How about Bullet? I mean, what a movie.
Dude, and Great Escape. Kidding me?
Yeah.
Steve McQueen must have gotten so many chicks. It was he was Steve fucking McQueen.
Right.
All right. Jana would even date him, and she doesn't even like McQueen's.
Well, they took that name for cars, man.
Yeah, Lightning McQueen.
Lightning.
Yeah, Lightning McQueen. Yeah.
All right.
Would you rather be hunted by the alien or the predator?
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
Since I don't know aliens, I'll say the Predator, man.
You ever seen
Wow.
Predator.
You never seen Alien? Or
I
Aliens?
chose the predator.
Well, yeah, but I don't necessarily believe in aliens. So,
You believe in aliens?
Well, I
you
haven't
believe
seen any.
Do you believe in ghosts? Bob?
Predator was technically an alien.
You believe
Yeah.
in ghosts?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I do.
You seen a
I
ghost?
do.
yet?
Have you seen
me
one?
or Matt?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
I no, but I have a weird story close to one.
No, I don't
Hit
wanna
it.
hear
Bring
your
it.
weird story.
Okay.
No.
Okay, now from a
He's
He's fucking with you,
No.
Bob. Of course you want to
Okay.
hear your weird story.
Okay. I had a job. My neighbor owned a funeral home, Grand Funeral Home in Southampton.
Okay.
So right outside of high school, I went to college. It was like the best job you
yeah.
could ever have because it paid unbelievable money.
Yeah.
On the
You're
weekends,
always
like-
in
I
business.
bet.
You're always in business. I had friends come
People are
through.
dying to get in there.
They are dying to get in there. So anyway, I was painting it one summer. In the summers, I would paint, and he had a crematory attached to it. So I'm up on the roof, and they went out to what's called a graveside service. And it's like July or August. Beautiful day, no wind, nothing. True story. So I'm up on the roof, I'm painting, and I just feel this black, dark thing go through me. It just went through me. I said, man, what was that? They drove to Sunset Memorial Park, which is in Huntington Valley, to do a
Okay.
graveside. So they took a tent because of the sun and they put the tent up. So they all come back like an hour later, and Rowan Grant had a toupee and it's like on backwards. And the other guy, their hair is all screwed up. And Jack comes up to me. He said, "You will not believe what happened." I said, "What?" He said, "As we were doing the service, swear you're going to think I'm making this up." He said, "A wind kicked up, and it was no wind, perfectly blue sky. Wind kicked up, picked the tent up, took one of the posts and chased one of the guys, went after one of the guys. It was like a movie, he told. And they all saw it. They all witnessed it and told me about it when they came back. I know they weren't bullshitting me. I know that, you know? So that's my ghost story.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I know that stuff.
Interesting.
I know that dark side exists from that, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was
Yeah.
like 1976, 77, you know?
Damn.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Damn.
Yeah, I
That
could write a
is-
book on this, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So
Damn. All right. Well, okay. Very good. Justin.
like, time to end this interview.
Who do you think would win in a fight, Stan Musial or Johnny Bench?
Johnny Bench. I'm gonna go with dude. I'm gonna go. I don't know. I hope they
Is
don't
that
fight.
a
It'd be kind of
fucking
embarrassing.
boomer question or
It'd be-
what?
It'd be kind of embarrassing. I don't know, man. Can they fight? You know, I mean,
Dan the Man
you know.
Musel?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like you can be big, you can be athletic, doesn't mean you can fight. And Matt can tell you that, right,
That
Matt?
is very true. I don't know
Because
how
he's
many,
not tall.
I don't know how many times we've seen like you fuck you. I'm fucking 5'11.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
I don't know
I'll
how
tell you
many
what, he's
times I've
You're
yeah.
6'6" to me.
Yeah.
Matt, you're 6'6".
Hey, appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
Matt,
But-
you're 5'8" to me.
God damn it, Jana. I'm 5'11. But I'll tell you, there's been a million times that guys have come into gym, like guys that are like muscle on top of muscle, or were like athletes in another sport that, you know, wanted to switch over, and you know, they just can't hack it, man. Some dudes too, like if you're not made for it, you're not made for it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you got like a weak bone structure or a weak chin, like that, you know, or no constitution, it comes out pretty quick. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're 100% right, Bob, where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, not everybody, you know, not everyone can
Yeah.
do that stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
go ahead, Justin.
So-
I interrupted
Okay.
you.
That's
If
cool.
you could be an all-star at any sport in any position, what would you pick?
Definitely MMA. Definitely MMA. Yeah.
Would it be like
Wow.
a UFC for hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, you're the first
definitely.
one to say that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Only because you know what, Rich Latta, I
Love
was
him.
in his MMA class for about 6 months,
Yeah.
and Rich gave me a key because he knew how. Here I am, man, in my 60s. He gave me a key because I was so excited. I would open the gym a half hour early. Me and Mattal would roll. And I'm not talking like flow rolling. I'm talking rolling. I'd be wiped out by the time Rich showed up. Like
Yeah.
I had like 45 minutes of rolling. I'm ready to go. And then we had a class for an hour of MMA. And I told Rich, I never had such a high in my life, ever,
Mhm.
ever. It was awesome, man. It's so awesome.
I don't know how
So-
many times, like I've said it on this show a million times, but I can't speak highly enough about Rich. I fucking love that guy. He really is
death.
like
You-
he's the best dude. He is.
He
the fuck-
is. He is. And
He is the best.
he is. And he's been through so much, man. He's
Oh.
been through so much.
Yeah.
What a great guy, you know?
Yeah,
So-
to gone through what I don't want to air his stuff out, but
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
he's
I know.
just he's
He's
the best.
awesome.
Love
He's-
him to death, man. Love him
Yeah,
to death.
yeah. So I learned a lot, you know, but you know, everything comes to an end. So you know, so
yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, so let's bring Justin. Any more, or what else you got for questions?
I don't have any more questions. Bob, do you have any questions for me?
Great question.
Yeah.
Question.
If it were the next fight coming up, man, what's his name? Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
Do you think he's being fed to the Lions on this fight coming up?
I think
That
he does
signed
what
up
his
for?
brother does and just lays around, takes out a 5-round decision, and walks away and gives everyone the finger.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I'll tell you, he must have. I'll tell you
Nick
that.
did the same thing. Nick like laid on the canvas, and just let all
Yeah.
5 rounds go by and said, "Fuck you, let me out of this goddamn contract."
Yeah. Well, he's up for the next fight, so you know it's going to be a bit.
Well-
I can't pronounce the guy's name, but the guy's good,
Yeah,
man.
Shemev,
So-
Shemev or whatever. Yeah,
I can't.
He's
I
number
don't
one
know,
contender.
Yeah.
Kamzat Shemev or whatever. I don't know.
Man. Yeah.
But
I wouldn't wanna fight
honestly,
either.
honestly, yeah, they want to make real money fighting the Paul brothers. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
their gimmick. They want
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah, but they'd have no ground game. They have no ground game.
I mean, I don't
Either
think
way.
that, I think it would
Box.
just be a boxing match. I don't think it would be. Yeah.
no
But he'd make
fun.
more money than every fight he's ever fought. in.
Yeah, it'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah, legit.
Let him
Like-
fight Khabib. Let him fight Khabib and have Khabib just take him down, and it's over. You know.
I'll tell you, it's. I mean, I know Jan is really interested in this, but if honestly, if like as much as Nate Diaz is like, whatever about McGregor, he owes his whole career
Yeah.
to McGregor,
Yeah,
right?
he
Like his
does.
whole stardom is because he took that McGregor fight on short notice and won after Aldo like faked the injury. You know
Right.
what I mean? Right? Like that just fucking blew up the whole MMA world. And he was like, honestly, on top of the world after that one. He's on
Well,
talk shows and stuff.
you can say what you want about McGregor, but McGregor brought back entertainment into it, and so did
True.
Ronda Rousey,
True.
like Ali.
Everybody
did.
loves you need a bad guy. Yeah.
yeah.
But you need entertainment as well. Like
Yeah.
when Nunes knocked out Rousey, I was like, oh no, because Nunes has like no entertainment value, none,
Yeah.
zero. And it was like, oh
Not
man,
great at a press conference.
bring Rousey back, please.
Yeah.
I know she can't hold her own anymore. She's done. But man, she was entertaining,
Yeah.
And same with McGregor. Is he an asshole? Yes. But he brought real entertainment to the sport,
He was
So-
honestly, his press conferences were something to behold.
They're great.
He was incredible on the mic.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Did you see
Also,
the
he's
one?
still raking in the money from that Floyd fight. You remember the Floyd fight?
Yeah, I
Like,
do.
come
Did
on.
you see that before the press conference?
Oh,
where
the press
he's
conferences for
Fighting
Floyd.
with Floyd's
So good.
father. He's
Yeah.
fighting with Floyd's father in the audience.
great.
It's like it was so great. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, they had like a tour. Whatever. All right, we're getting
Hey,
off track.
I got a great Holly Holmes story. No one
Oh,
knows.
Go
I
ahead.
had a guy, Ryan McGreevy, on my show. Now, we'll get into this later, but I had a guitar show for 25 years. So this guy from Albuquerque, New Mexico comes on, and it's Ryan McGreevy. I'm filming on a cruise ship outside of Africa somewhere on a cruise ship, right? And he comes on. I had like tons of artists had interviews. So I'm reading his bio. It says Albuquerque, New Mexico. And you can look up Ryan. I said, Ryan, do you know Holly? He said, yeah, man. He said, her and I go out and do all the meet and greets for Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he said, my sister went to school with her and they graduated together. I said, do you have any stories? He said, yeah, this is before we filmed the show. So he said, Holly in 8th grade was in his sister's soccer club before she was really, into fighting, but she still had that personality. He said she showed up at a soccer meet. She shaved her eyebrows and cut her eyelashes to intimidate the girls. That's in 8th grade. True story.
Wow.
And then he said
I
they
love that.
went to like a grocery store to get like snacks, like either before or after a meet and greet. And the guy behind the counter bringing them up didn't know who she was. And he kept saying to his buddy, man, look at her. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
butt.
Check
Look at
that
her."
out. Yeah.
And Ryan's behind her going, like
Yeah.
"Cut
You
it."
might not want to
Like,
say
yeah,
that, bub.
right, yeah. So she walks away. He's paying for his food. And he said, do you know who that is? That's Holly Holmes, man. She could just eat you alive. The
Yeah.
kid had like no idea, So they're the two Holly Holmes stories.
I would love if that actually happens and she's just like, dude, shut the fuck
Yeah.
up. Bam.
Yeah, I have her elbows at, and man, she is badass in
Oh,
elbows.
yes.
Let me tell you. Yeah,
she's
great.
She's badass at everything.
She's like 6 foot, I think. I think she's tall.
Oh, so
Yeah,
she's
Matt
probably around the
too.
same
She's-
height as me.
She's a lot taller
smaller.
than Matt.
You son of a bitch.
She towers
She's-
over Matt.
Yeah, she-
You
Does she like shorter
bastards.
men?
yeah. She'll hit you with that question mark kick. But anyway. Yeah.
So okay, so let's keep it moving then. All
Okay.
right. So yeah, you grew up boxing, everything with your dad
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and you loved all that. I do have here to ask you about the George Foreman story.
Yeah. Okay. So let me talk a little bit. He would take me once every couple months, and with a bunch of guys, we go to the Spectrum, and I saw Gypsy Joe Harris. Gypsy Joe. Now this is back in the day. Had a glass eye, and they let him fight. And he had rainbow shorts. I'll never forget. He had these rainbow colored shorts, And you talk about entertainment, man. He danced around that ring. I mean, he roped the dope. He did it all, you know?
What was his
Angel-
name? Gypsy
Gypsy
Joe?
Joe Harris, yeah.
Okay.
One of the legends in Philly. And then Benny Briscoe, I saw a
Benny
lot
Briscoe was a bad dude.
bad. And they were little guys, man. Emil Griffith, I saw. So
Another
I'll never
bad dude.
forget. I don't know who the headliner was, but George Foreman was not the headliner. And he had his afro and his mustache. I had no idea who it was, but they took his opponent out on a stretcher. And the announcer and the announcer said, people think I make this up. I can't. And the announcer said that was George Foreman who won the fight, you know? And I never forgot his name. And then like 4 or 5 years later or whatever, you know, he came into prominence, out to be. So this is when he was like just fighting anybody and for the food, you know? Yeah, for the meals. So
Dude, I'll tell you, man. I mean, I could talk about George Foreman forever, but that guy he was pretty fucking good.
He was amazing. And then I was a guest on a talk show on RCN up in Somerville, New Jersey. I get there and it's Rick Allen, his show. And he said, Jerry Clooney just left. And I'm here, Jerry Cooney. I'm sorry.
Gentleman Jerry Cooney.
I'm here. You got to be
Ken
kidding
Norton,
me.
lost to Larry Holmes. Yeah.
Right. I said, do you know how much I love boxing? Why didn't you tell me? He said, well, he was here promoting Fist, his organization for retired boxers.
Yeah.
So I missed him by like 5 minutes, you know? So I would have missed my show and just hung out with him, you know?
Yeah.
So
He's got to have crazy stories too. He was living,
I'm sure.
living the life.
Right.
So, okay. So, and then also you were at Ali Frazier 1. Is that right?
I was. We went to Madison Square.
Wow.
And I remember going up escalators, and you would go up an escalator, get off, walk a little bit, get on another one. And we did, no exaggeration, maybe 20 of those because we were in and it's got to still be there. I haven't been back. And we were in the nosebleed. So I looked down and I just saw 2 dots. That's all I could see, you know? But I remember going up and the security guards would stand on the side. And he says to my father, he said, how old is he? And my father said, 21. He said, cool. Because he had to be a certain age, I think, you know?
How old were you?
10, maybe? I don't know. What was the first fight, you know? I was a little kid. But my father did go back with my brother later to see another one at Madison with Ali. And he said they got like, I don't know, 6th, 7th row. I don't know how much they paid. And he said they sat right next to Elton John.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
Yeah, I missed out on that one.
Dude,
so anyway.
what was so that legit? Okay, for those of you who don't know the story, I'll sum it real quick. Ali was the champion. His title was stripped from him because he didn't want to go in the Vietnam War. After that, they then had a tournament. The title was stripped from him. He was suspended from boxing, but he was legit the heavyweight champ, right? And so the title was stripped from him. They then had a tournament. Joe Frazier ends up winning the tournament. Joe Frazier is considered like the blue collar working man's champion. Ali was this brash, loudmouth. You know, he was very political minded, talking champion, right? So his suspensions lifts. Ali has a couple fights. He's still game. And he's saying he never lost the title. Then Frazier has the title. So then it was 2 worlds collide was Ali Frazier 1. And it split the room because it was, politically minded and, fighting the man on this side, pretty much like the Democrats. And then the blue collar working, hard, working class, blah, 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 whatever on this side. And it was honestly the biggest ticket you could ever get until the Rumble and the Jump, until Ali Foreman. But
we talk about rounds. How about that 15th round where Frazier wouldn't come out? Ali stood up and just laid on the canvas. Yeah. And they always said, who knows, but that shows how difficult it was, man, when Ali's
also
totally
15 rounds 15. Is a mother-fucker.
Yeah.
12 rounds. They only do 12 now. Right. I would love 15 just because like they used to call I think they used rounds 13, 14, 15 were called the championship rounds because that's where the fight was won. Like Could you imagine? Fucking 45 minutes. Like by round 15, it's 45 minutes you've been fighting someone
Yeah,
with
your
1 minute breaks in between. You're cooked.
your
you know?
cardio, your cardio has to be it's so through the roof, man.
Crazy
Because
too.
that's what's carrying you.
Yeah.
Is cardio, you know.
Also,
Yeah, they
crazy
never
thing.
stop moving.
Oh, never. The crazy thing too is that they fought Joe Frazier was like 212 pounds. Ali was like 220, something like that. So they weren't like these big monster guys, like they are now. Like Klitschko's legit 6'8". So,
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's keep it moving. We talked too much Baxen. Jana's done with it. So, all right, you graduate high school and everything like that. And like you said, you would work at a funeral home and stuff like that. But also you had started playing guitar at 12, right?
I did.
Okay. So you're playing guitar and you're working at the funeral home. And then how is that going? Like, what were you trying to, are you going to college or what are you doing there?
Yeah. I was going to Bucks College, which I still maintain is like a better education than Harvard. Bucks County Community College.
Most community colleges.
Honestly, man, it was awesome. And then I ended up going to Temple, but I got my ass kicked as a guitar player. And it was the best thing for me because I had a lot of bitterness, a lot of hatred. And I had guys that just kicked my ass and they were great. They were older than me, some of them. I'd be in bands with them. And that's how you learn, man. Yeah. And so, it was a real deal. So out of high school, I was working for the funeral home, but I also was in bands and I'd play on the weekends. And then I ended up getting in a band where we did after hours clubs. So we played a place called Club Demi, which was in Pendle, Flowers Mill Road, Route 1, Oxford Valley, right? Okay. First time I went there, I had a bass player. We had an agent, Joe Butler from Philly, and he was a Philadelphia cop. And he had that long black leather jacket, this hair like you do slicked back, with 5 times the grease on it, you know? Sure. So we get to Club Demi and we have Groove, his real name is Groove Maddox. And it's like 20
incredible
years old.
Incredible.
From West Philly. And we were all
Justin, your long lost dad.
Right. No, it was mine. So anyway, we get there and we have this like promo shot, and it's like midnight, and we're dressed up, and this is in the 70s, so it's disco era, and we have like tinfoil on us and jumpsuits, and we look ridiculous, man. You could take our shirts and cook a turkey in them, right? Anyway, Joe Butler goes up, he comes back down, and it's called Club Demi because it was a Democratic. And I'm not political. I'm like the least political person.
Same.
And he says, you guys can't play here tonight or at all. We said, why? They said, you have a black guy in your band. It's a private club. You can't play. And I looked at Groove. I just said, dude, I'm so sorry. Groove had just come off the road. If you ever heard of Nina Simone? Yeah, he was with Nina Simone, her bass player. So he was like the heavyweight. We were doing like Rick James and, all the Hall
like you're doing covers and stuff?
All covers. Yeah. So I ended up going back a year later with Joe Stafiri.
You think the Democrat would be all right with a black guy playing? Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. So
Groove Maddox.
Maddox. He's got to be dead today.
God, the best name though.
I know. I really
can't believe the black guy was Groove.
Yeah.
But you know what? He came down to our level because we're a bunch of white guys. We had rhythm, but not like him. Total worlds apart.
I mean, if your name's Groove, you have all the rhythm in the world.
Yeah. I really think that's on his birth certificate. I really do. So I went back like a year later, another group, all white group. I played 5-6 nights a week from like 1:20 till 5 in the morning.
Damn.
And it was 3 bars and it was packed. It was packed. Like, I don't know what the capacity was, like 250 people, a lot of bartenders, a lot of prostitutes, all people of the night. And we just rocked the place. It was great, So yeah. But so I played, I kicked around with the guitar, played a lot, did that for years. And then one night, and then I got a job as a real estate appraiser. I was working in Jenkintown, which I love. I loved appraising real estate. And I heard of a jazz jam session at a church. So I was really into jazz. You know,
Okay.
let me tell you something. If you are any type of a musician, like you either go, if you're into rock, then you go into like really speed metal or stuff that's really difficult to play, or you get out of rock and you go into jazz, because that's where, if you want to challenge yourself. So I go to a jazz jam session. It's a bunch of horn players. I'm the only guitar player. We did a song called Satin Doll. I smoked it. The girl came up to me afterwards and she said, "Would you like to be on a TV show?" And this is back in the
Whoa.
day. Yeah, back in the day of suburban cable before Comcast. So I said, "Yeah, what's the show?" She said, "It's Nothing Really." I said, "I love that. It's a great show."
Wait. The show was called Nothing Really?
Yes, and he had, and I'll tell you who his musician was. His musician was Bill Bloom. Bill Bloom wrote the theme, that King Masabi song that's on commercials. Jump on it, jump on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's from Bucks County. He would stand there in front of a curtain and play keyboards, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so he got tired of it. He quit. So this girl sax player, Roseanne, said, "Would you want to be in a band?" I said, "Yeah." The next Saturday, I'm in this band, and we had like one rehearsal, maybe. I don't even know. And we played, and we're live on TV, and they filmed it, and it would air once a month. And it was a talk show. So he'd have people like yourself, local people, and it was really entertaining, very entertaining. And then like 9 months later, I said, "You know what? I don't care. I don't care about being on TV. I never did. I never chased it. It chased me. And really, I could care less about that." So I quit. So a lady from the TV station, Millie Murden from Happero. I'm Millie. You know she's
You
old, right?
just crush it with the
I do.
names.
Well, you know what? We go to Fanny Chapman Pool, built in 1929. I saw in Doylestown. Fanny, Millie, Bertha. They were popular names back then, man. So anyway,
Bertha. Ooh.
Millie calls me and says, "Would you like your own show?" And she said, "Teaching guitar." I said, "That's really cool." And this Suburban Cable has a multi-million-dollar studio, green room, professional camera people that went to college for it. They paid them. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to waste this opportunity. I'm going to start bringing people on. If I sit and teach guitar, you're going to fall asleep. It's a snore fest.
Yeah.
So I was just up in New York and I saw Bucky Pizzarelli. There's an old name. But Bucky Pizzarelli, big name, was Rosemary Clooney's guitar player, did all the records back in the day, you know, really big name. So anyway, saw him in New York, in the Village, and I had come home and I thought, man, if I could get people like Bucky and other people. So I started the show. We did 3 shows once a month, taped 3 shows a day. And I brought on Ed Geringer, who's a terrific jazz guitar player, Audric Jan Kaskis, killer fusion player, and Richard Druding, killer finger stylist. 3 different shows.
Dang.
Did that. He came down, Jim Bunn, the head of the studio, and said, "Bob, we're going to air you 5 days a week." I know it sounds, you know. So I said, "You got to be."
Awesome.
Yeah, I said, "You got to be kidding me," because, you know, it's a guitar show, but Jim loved the guitar. So what I did, I started to go to guitar shows up in Dix Hills, Melville, all on Long Island, and gave my card out. And then a guy knew Les Paul. Do you know Les Paul? You know who he
Yes.
is?
I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a TV show in the 50s and 60s that was like, you know, big show. He invented the guitar, true genius.
Hey, he has a guitar.
Yeah, he invented the guitar. I would tell my students, they come in with Les Paul. So I would say, "Do you know who that is?" "No." "Is that a person?" I said, "Yeah, that's a real man, you know?" So a guy knew him, would drive him from Mawa into the Iridium every Monday night and said, "Look, I'll give you an introduction to him. Maybe he'll do your show." I doubt it. He's never done one show outside of PBS. So I go up, I'm in the Iridium before it even opens. They let me in, I'm sitting there. Tommy Doyle comes out and says, "Les wants to see you." I told Les what a great guitar player you are. He said, "If he's that good, bring him in slowly." So I was with, at the time, my wife, who was my fiance at the time. So we go in and we're talking, and the first person I see backstage, they're eating, is Andy Summers from The Police. And you know him right away. You walk in and there's Andy. And Andy, if he says 2 words the whole night, that's too much, right? And then Lou Palo was Les's right-hand man. So Les had blue humor, like always dirty humor on stage, really funny guy. But he took a liking to Janet. And I figured, this isn't going to happen, man. This is not going to happen. So after 10 minutes, I turn around, I'm walking out, and he stops me and he says, Bob, he said, you have digital cameras? I said, I got the best, the very best. He said, I'll see you here next Monday at before the show, at 3:00. I said, really? So I said, okay. Now I had to talk Suburban Cable into going up to film Les Paul.
Yeah.
So I called Jim Bunn. Jim
but it's
said,
that's a pretty good guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. So Jim said, absolutely. So they had a van.
Nice.
He brought a bunch of people. I get up there next week with Janet. We get there early. They're all set up to go. And Les is up there rehearsing with the band. He's yelling at the camera crew to keep it down because they're kind of loud, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I do a show with him. We must have, every show I did was usually an hour, but it cut down to a half hour, right?
Okay.
And so I did that and I could not believe it. Right off the bat, I got the biggest fish in the world to do my show right off the bat. Off the bat. Great production, little dark. They were light on the lights, but they did a great show. And you can see 5 minutes. And people ask me on YouTube, why do you have 5 minutes? Because I did everything for Mind Television. They would only take 5-minute spots. And she aired my show and it went down by the shore all over. And they're still on Mind Television. So I would cut them down to 5 minutes and give them to Mind and then throw them up on YouTube. But I've got, hundreds of shows, half-hour episodes and so forth. So anyway, and then after that, I went up to New York to guitar shows on the weekend. I spend the whole weekend in a hotel. I go to the show. I meet all these celebrity guitar players. I told them I had Les Paul on. They said,
as soon as you say that, though, it's they're fucking,
yeah, exactly.
Right. And you know what made him so great? He was a regular dude. He had
a regular guy.
No attitude, nothing. And every time I went up there, he treated me like I was a celebrity. I'd walk in, wouldn't even say anything. Tommy Doyle would see me 5 minutes later. Come on back. You're going to hang backstage tonight. Every time. It was incredible.
Oh,
it was so cool.
That's good to hear that someone that's on top of the world like that can still be down to earth.
Oh my God. What an inspiration, because I met some real a-holes. Let me tell you,
I bet. So
yeah.
Real quick, I want to get into that in a little bit, but right now we got to do our new segment. It's the Jana Cute Questions Corner segment with Jana Hehlo, the Heart Stopper. Heart Stopper. Damn it. Either way, Jana, Heart Stopper, Heartbreaker Hehlo is here, and she's gonna have some cute questions for you, Bob. Jana, take it away.
Bob, do you like boxers or briefs?
That is so funny, man. I actually wear both. I wear boxers to bed because I can sleep in boxers, but I wear briefs. I get them at the Gap because they're the best quality. They fit the best, and they hold a lot. I'm kidding. It's not true. It's not true.
He is
no wonder that gym teacher was keeping you around all those years.
I saw Ricky Gervais, or what, from the Office.
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, right. And he said, everyone's having plastic surgery. He just had his second penal reduction. It's really, really funny. So anyway, but
I had to get height reduction surgery
because you were so tall.
I'm so tall.
He was so tall.
So tall.
Right.
He was too tall.
I'm 5'11". I'm 5'11". It's really tall.
So humble of you to only be 5'11".
Boxers at night, I got them behind me. I can pull them out.
No, it's all right.
We're good with that. So what is Janet like? What is Janet like better? Your boxers or your brief?
Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at you. Way to go,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Bob, stay seated right now. Stay seated.
Okay.
All right.
okay.
So who was your celebrity crush, Bob?
Pam Dauber. And I actually believe this wrote a song, and I had the address book and sent it to Pam Dauber. I had her address, her publicist, and I have a letter back from her publicist. Say, I swear to God, I have all that. And she said Pam would listen to it. It was an album. It was on a cassette. And she said she would listen to it in her car. And then she wrote me, not Pam, her publicist. Honest to God. Well, you know what? Whoever you want on your show, you can get them. You can get anybody you want if you believe in it enough. So anyway, she said,
I've been trying, brother. Trust me.
You know how
Rogan won't return my call.
No, you know how
You
you
haven't
got
tried.
them? Okay.
Okay.
I don't
yeah,
know who
I
this
will.
woman is that was your
Is it Mindy
Pam
from
Dauber,
Mork and Mindy? Yeah.
Mork and
okay.
Mindy, the cute one, not the hairy
Ah.
one. Yeah, Mork and
Oh,
Mindy.
no, we
Yeah.
don't
Not
like
Robin
hair.
Williams.
Whoa.
No,
I
Robin
love
Williams.
Robin Williams.
I did too, man. He was awesome. He
The
was a
best.
genius, man. He was a genius.
And she's
yeah.
married to Mark Harmon. Is that-
Yeah, she is. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
That lucky dude. Yeah, I'm sure she still looks great. So anyway,
Oh.
Yeah, she's all
that
right.
was it. Yeah. So
How
that
about
was my
now?
crush.
Yeah, what about now?
Today?
Who's your celebrity
Well,
crush now?
J-Lo.
I like Marissa Tomei.
Oh,
Oh,
Marissa
you know what?
Tomei.
You know
Dude,
what?
you just got
Local-
another one of Justin's right. There you go.
Local. I think Kate Bilo is like the cutest
Dog.
girl.
Bob, are we best fucking friends? Are you kidding me?
Fist bump, dude. Where's the camera?
Oh
Fist
my
bump.
God.
I've
Let
been
me
following
tell
that
you.
bro. Like she
She
came on
is like-
CBS in like 2009. I was
Yeah.
bored getting up I was like, I like this, bro. Then she got pregnant.
is-
Yeah.
Oh, did she?
And then
I
she
didn't
kept
know
her
she
dick
was
Oh,
pics
married.
on.
wow.
Oh, I
Kate
didn't know that.
Bilo?
Yes.
Yeah, she's from another
Shout
another
out.
planet. She's got the
Kate
natural
Bilo.
cheeks, you know.
We gotta
Hey,
get
Bob.
her on here.
Me and Bob have a similar taste in weather women.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too, man. Me too. Yeah,
Dude.
dark. But
Weather,
I still love you.
weather women are the best.
Yeah.
They
I
got
can
those
go on.
weather balloons, am I right?
Hey,
Yeah. Well,
it looks like
Cicely,
sunshine tomorrow.
let me tell you, man, Karen Rogers and Cicely Tynan are nothing to sneeze.
Cicely
Come
Tynan's
on,
been
man.
putting in that work for years. And
What
felt
about
like-
Karen
Yeah.
Hep?
I don't know her.
Dog, I'll even
would
take
never
Sue
see her.
Serio.
No, but you know who I got to share a stage with for many
I love this
years.
area.
Do you remember Jane Velez Mitchell? She started here and then she was on CNN with Glenn Beck, 7:00 every night. Beautiful. I mean, look her up, man. She started like on Channel 6 or something for years in the 80s.
Bob, do you know
And-
what they're doing at Telemundo with weather women? You know,
What?
you're gonna have to look it up in your own.
Oh.
You're gonna have to look it up in your own time. Telemundo's
Oh,
doing a
baby,
whole
baby,
other
baby.
thing.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
stop.
Oh.
Really? Well, they're Latin. Come on, you can't go
Dude,
wrong. You can't go wrong.
they're doing stuff right.
The weather's the same every day. They're just there for show.
Well, is it like naked
It's the
news?
equator. The
No.
weather
It's
doesn't
the
change.
equator.
The opposite.
The opposite. Okay. So so Kate Bilo. Yeah. I don't know if she watches.
Yeah, fan of the show.
Fan of the show, listener of the
Is she?
show.
Cool.
She does. She loves
Okay.
it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
She should.
Okay. Yeah.
What's your
I mean,
sign, Bob? What's your sign?
I'm Aquarius, February. Yeah.
February
Yeah.
what?
16th. 16th. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
You like to
I
talk.
don't know. Yeah, too much.
So
No.
Bob, what's your toxic trait? Like my toxic trait is switching the numbers around in the miles per hour. So if it's 25, I just do 52.
Love it.
Okay. Talking too much for one. Picking my nose. Seriously. Not eating it, but
Oh,
picking it.
Sheena Parveen. We
Seriously.
forgot about
Oh,
Sheena.
Sheena. She's a throbber.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you know what?
Robert?
In jujitsu, I was known as the guy who farted all the time.
Oh,
And
God.
like my
Toxic
partner Matal would like bring attention to it. Like Matal's like the greatest guy in the world, but he would stand up and go, "Oh my God." Like, and they were loud and like people would be rolling next to me, like look over, like here's the old guy farting. You know what a dog fart smells like? Like it's not human. Well, when you get old, anyway, too much info.
dude, one,
It's no secret. It's no
God,
secret.
I don't even know if I should tell this story, but
Go ahead.
one time I was like sometimes after boxing, I would lift and like where the weights are, it's right next to the mat where everyone's rolling for jujitsu. And one time I'm doing like clean jerk and press, right? And so I have the bar and I do like a clean and I go right here and I go like to catch it and go up. And I went, as soon as I went down, it went like, and I was like, oh fuck, and I dropped the weight, and everyone was like, Jesus Christ.
That's great.
It was so
That's
everyone heard me. I was like, oh god damn it, and then I had to keep lifting.
No, I was there and everyone looked at me. So yeah.
Sure.
But,
they thought it was you, Bob.
But where it's really bad is when you're with a girl and you're rolling and then you fart. That's where it takes the cake. I mean, that's embarrassing, you know. So
it's not like we're not like we're rolling with Miss Universe over there, Bob. You know.
Well, sometimes you are. Some of the girls.
Yeah,
Guys, I've farted right now.
But okay.
That's not true, Jana, because women don't do that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I only do it in this soundproof booth.
Dog, they do it the smelliest, yo.
Yeah. You heard that joke about New Jersey, right?
About what?
It's New Jersey. It's the only state when you're in a car with people and you fart, you roll the windows up.
That's
That's
so rude.
That's
awesome?
so true. I love it.
True.
That's so rude.
And
I love how PA people just shit all over Jersey.
Dude, Egg Harbor, since I was
Egg
like
Harbor.
6 years old, sounds like the smelliest place in the world. Egg
But it's-
That's
Harbor.
where my grandmother lived.
You
Does
never
it
been to
smell
Atlantic
like-
Lived in
City.
Egg Harbor.
Eggs
remember
in a
this
harbor.
the champagne bottle they had? Do they still have that when you drive by? There was this enormous champagne bottle. And then there
don't
was
remember that.
Ideal. The commercial, swing on down to Ideal. They were outside of Egg Harbor. They were always on
Oh,
the
I
radio.
don't
Remember
think I
that?
watched TV.
I'll
See, I'm
tell
too
ya.
old. I'm old, man. I'm a fossil.
I'll tell you, I was in Atlantic City the other day and it was so windy, like dangerously windy, that like two sailors got blown right under the boardwalk.
Good one.
All right. Let's
Love it.
Jana, keep it moving. Yeah.
Um,
Next question.
Bobby, what's your favorite thing about Janet?
Whoa.
Her looks. I have to tell you, that's why Les Paul liked her. Extremely Italian, like Marissa Tomei at that level. I'm lucky. I can't believe she married me. I really
Yeah.
can't.
We're
I
all
can't
wondering
believe it.
what the hell she was thinking.
Yeah, really, man. I think she's on crack, cocaine, and drunk. You know,
Yeah.
Me and Bob,
still is.
Yeah.
best friends. I got myself
Yeah.
an Italian broad downstairs. I have no idea why she's here right now.
Yeah, you
Oh,
wonder.
yeah.
Right, I
Everyone's
know.
wondering
I
that.
know.
Justin.
She's literally making
Really?
sausage and peppers right now. I can smell it throughout the house.
I know.
I don't even know what's
I
happening.
know.
I haven't cooked for myself in years.
Hey, listen, is her mother alive?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Then you're
Even better.
then you are lucky, my friend. Mine was right off the boat. My mother-in-law, she died. I loved her. Right, Pergola was her name. Right off the boat, man. Spoke Italian, the whole bit. You know.
Her first
But,
name was Pergola?
No,
Oh.
Olga. They named her
Olga.
after a Russian dancer. I'm serious. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, 100%
I had a
Italian.
teacher named Olga.
Yeah.
Second grade teacher.
Right.
Olga. I can't
Hairy
remember her
legs.
last name.
Hairy legs, armpit.
Probably.
No,
hair.
I know. Olga Sokovich.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I couldn't remember it.
All right. Janene, what else you got?
I'm good. Bob,
Oh,
you win.
all right.
I don't know. Man.
Awesome. Well, that was
Okay.
another rousing Jana Cute Questions Corner segment. Love it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Very nice. Good job. All right. So let's keep it moving. So one thing we did want to talk about this, and you're not like grandstanding or anything, and I think we all kind of want to hear it because of like your show and, just, being in the business for so long, you've come across some crazy MRFers, and there's a couple of them that, I know Justin's really excited to hear about Jackie Martling
Would
because
love
Yeah.
to hear about the fifth
Yeah.
Beatle.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to. I went to do the show first, and now I'm going to text him. I can't copy you on the text, but I'll send it to you. And
Oh.
I know he'll do the show, man. He's a
No,
down to
you,
earth dude.
dude, you don't.
Oh,
It's.
I
I
know
mean,
he
I don't
will.
want to
I
put
know
you in
he
a
will.
position.
No,
It's
you're
okay.
not. You're not. He's a regular dude. You know.
I mean, he's.
And
He's
you know
a
how-
legit ledge. Like
Well,
that is, he
I'll-
is. Justin
can I-
will piss himself if he comes on.
Can I tell you this story? It's a long story, but
No,
can I-
no,
can-
let us
okay.
come on. Do your
So
thing.
I used to go like, I don't know, every couple months to see Les. And like I said, I always went backstage. There was always somebody. And backstage, there was like 10 of us. And Jackie was there. So Lou Paolo grabs me and says, Jackie, you two have to know each other. Bob has a TV show. I said, yeah, I know who you are, Jackie. So we were trading jokes, and we were trading really foul jokes. And to
Yeah.
top him on a joke, you can't. I did
Yeah.
get one joke he never heard of, right? I said, you know, I know I'm a musician. He did a CD. It was $1 million seller. He said, really? I said, yeah, he's got $1 million in his cellar. So like he never sold any. Jackie said, I never heard that, man. I have to give you a t-shirt. So anyway,
Aw.
he said, I'll do your show. So he comes down. I put him up. I usually don't put people up at a hotel, but I put him up at a hotel
Sure.
outside of New Hope.
Yeah.
So he shows up, and we're filming at Middle Bucks Institute of Technology, which is a multi-million-dollar recording studio, television studio. They did Comcast Newsmakers there as well. So you know the quality. So anyway, Jackie comes in and he gets out of his car. He's got all this stuff. He opens his trunk. Stuff's falling out his arms, and I'm picking it up. He's trying to button his shirt. His shirt is like half on. And he said, look, Bob, ask me anything. I don't care. Ask me anything. I promise. So he comes on, and the first thing he says, he sits down and he says, man, this is like a cult in here. Nobody's talking, and they all got the same colored shirts on. And it was like the Moonies, you know? So right off the bat, like he like puts people on the edge of it. So they check our mics, and it's very professional. And we do the show, and he talks about Rodney Dangerfield, and you can see this on YouTube. And by the way, it's the first day they had a camera jib, and they did not know how to work it. And they're sending this. A jib is something that goes up and holds a camera on the end, so you can get close up like an eyeball, you know.
Yeah.
And had it anchored, and it's shaking. So I couldn't tell. So when you watch the show, it looks like you're on a ship because it's this jib shaking, you know? So yeah, they should have caught that. And so anyway, Jackie tells one about Rodney Dangerfield because he worked with Rodney, and Rodney had this joke about a 2-bagger. The girl was so ugly, you had to put 2 bags on. So we did the show, and we did like 2 shows, and we did 2 half-hour shows live to tape. And so like the guy forgets, my editor gives them to me like a week later, and they're editing. And then he calls me later and says, I can't release these shows to you. I said, why? I'm paying for them. And it was like $175 to do a show. And I said, why? Kathy, who still runs the school, saw the show and was offended by the joke, the 2-bagger joke.
God, Kathy.
I said, but
Come
it's like, yeah, really. And so I called Jackie. He was in Florida, and he said, Bob, he said, I made that for middle class America, man. That was as clean as it could get.
Yeah.
And I said, well, listen, man. And I had forgotten I had the DVDs. So I said, I'm going to work and try to get your show. And then I said, wait a second, man. After I hung up, like a couple days later, it hit me. I own the show. I didn't need them. They had everything on mini DV technology. So I didn't need them. So I had the show. So anyway, I called Jackie, said, you're good to go. The show's going to air. So he said, great. So anyway, Jackie gets done the show. And do you know what B-roll is? B footage? Okay.
Yeah.
So they wanted B footage. So he gives the guy a VCH tape. And this goes back maybe 20 years ago, right? Or 15, I don't know. So he gives him a VHS tape, and it's of Jackie. Maybe, I think it was the show The Aristocrats, the movie he was in. So he gives him that, and there's no tape in it. There's pot. There's like an ounce, I'm guessing like an ounce of pot, right? I don't know how much, but it filled the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I get a call the next day. I'm at work. I remember walking out to lunch, and it's Jackie. I pick up the phone. He calls me Bobby. He says, Bobby, listen, man, I need you to do me a favor. I said, what? He said, I left a tape. I don't know if I left it at the show the night before, if I gave it to a fan, or I left it at your show, but I left all this pot in a VHS tape. I said, Jackie, I don't know. No one, I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. And I'll let you know. So he said, okay, let me know. So like an hour or two later, I get a call from the school, and it's the producer, Chris, the teacher. And he says, we have a situation. I said, what's the situation? He said, the student pulled out all this pot from a VHS cover. Figures, Jackie Martin.
Right. Yeah.
He said, Bob, he said, we bring in guard dogs. They bring in guard dogs here, sniffing dogs once a month in the school. He said, I could have been fired. You could have lost your show. We could have been arrested on top of it. And we took it and we threw it out in the dumpster. I don't know what they did with it, but I have to believe them. So
Yeah.
now I know the truth. So Jackie calls me, and I had to lie to him. Like a couple of days later, I lied to him. I said, Jackie, I don't know. I really don't know. He's like really bummed out. He can't find it. I couldn't tell him because he's the type to call the school and want it back.
Yeah. Like, give me
so-
back my pot, you bastards.
Right,
This is
right.
Richard Nixon.
So like a year later, I established a friendship with him. Like a year later, I'm up in his living room. He lives in Bell Harbor,
Either way.
Long Island.
Yeah.
Yeah. So beautiful home on Quincy Drive. So anyway, and I'm sitting in his living room, and I said, Jackie, I have a confession. I said, you left all that pot at the school. I swear to God, I never smoked it. I never saw it. They threw it out, and that was it. I don't know if he believed me or not, but that's my experience with Jackie. And then I was filming for the USKA, which is the fights up
Karate.
up in Allentown. And so I was filming for them, and I had the idea to bring Jackie in to do bumpers. So I went back up to Jackie's, and he did all these bumpers. And here's one of the bumpers he did. And you tell me what I'm saying, okay?
Okay.
What's it look like I'm saying?
Fuck
Fuck
you.
you.
Yeah, vacuum.
Oh.
Vacuum. And that's it. So that's the type of stuff he did. So anyway, I put all the beef footage in, gave it to the USKA, and Irv calls me and says, the fighters are upset. I said, why? He said they felt like Jackie was demeaning the show. I mean, man, those guys have to get a grip. Like, they're taking themselves way too seriously. He's not putting them down. He's like joking, And to be honest, I don't know if they knew who he was because they're young guys, like 22, and Jackie's like 60 at the time,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
If they
anyway.
would have said he's, from Stern, they would have been like, oh my God, him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. So, but he I got to know him really well. It told me a lot of like things I can't say on here about Stern,
Yeah.
but
I
but
would
he
love to
did-
hear that.
I can tell you,
Dude,
but
he turned down so much fucking money, yo.
he did.
So
man.
he's Pete Best. Like it's a tough conversation
that's
to have with
true.
somebody, especially he's a guy. I don't know him. I'm sure I know he's hilarious.
He's a
but,
great
like,
guy. He's a
it's
great
one
guy.
of those stories that like you had it and you let it go because you thought you could do better. And
Yes.
it
And he had
turns
just-
out
and
I'm
he
gonna
had
punch
just-
up scripts.
Yeah. And he just missed Paul McCartney too. I mean, he missed all these major people, but his rub was that he would come in at 3 a.m. from a club to make a living, go to the Stern show like at 4. He had like an hour of sleep. They were making like tons of money. He was
Yeah.
writing all the scripts. He wrote the part. He wrote Howard Stern. He handed Howard. It was something of King of Media. He wrote King of Media.
King of all media. Yeah.
No, Howard wrote all. He put the word all in. He said that's what a genius Howard was. He wrote King of all media, but Jackie wrote King of Media. Howard wrote it and took it and ran with it, But Jackie said, I was a spice on the show. And I said, no, man, that show wasn't the same when you left. You know,
Nah, it was the same. Like they got Artie to kind of fill that void that Jackie left, and Artie did a great job.
Yeah, but he wasn't Jackie, man.
No,
Jackie
was just silly, and Jackie used to go around to all those joke shows, and that's what he would do. He would say, "Tell me a joke that I've never heard," because he could take the punchline to any joke.
Yeah, he has that memory,
Yeah.
And
He's
he
got every
told me,
old dirty dumb joke in his head.
he said, Bob, I mailed him a cassette tape, never expecting to hear anything. He said, and he picked me up. He liked it and invited me on the show. And he started the relationship. He said, but what people don't know are the 200 cassette tapes I mailed to other people that never even responded. And he said that one tape went to Howard and he got picked up, and that's where his career took off from Howard.
Wow.
But I'll tell you this, I can say this. Him and Robin Quivers were like fire and ice, man. They were like fire. I know Robin.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
they
got to
didn't
know-
like each other?
No. Funny story. It was in the winter. It was really after a snowstorm. I'm up at Jackie's. I come home and my wife's watching, who's that gay guy who owns like Bravo? He has
Andy Cohen?
Andy
Andy.
Cohen, and he
Yeah.
has Robin Quivers on.
It's on
And
downstairs.
And he says to Robin, he says, who did you like to see leave and who did you hate to see leave? And she said, I hated to see Billy West leave, and I love to have seen Jackie Martling leave. And I had just come home from Jackie's, and she told me that. I'm sorry I missed it,
Wow.
And that's they were fire and ice. Yeah.
Man,
So,
I wonder why. Huh. Do you think it was like competing for Howard's like attention at times too? Like, I don't know.
I honestly think Jackie is in a league of his own. Robin's great, but Robin's like the straight person, like she laughs really well. But Jackie contributed a lot to that show, and that may have threatened her. I don't know. I have no idea. So
What? So
Fun fact about Chevy Chase, we have the same birthday.
Oh, you do?
Ooh.
I have a
Mhm.
Chevy Chase story too, man.
But
I
do
can
not
go
love
on and
Chevy,
on.
yo.
And
Let's
That
hear
was
it.
my only one.
Okay, so I played in New York for years. I would play at Peter Max's. Do you remember Max, the artist, Beatles artist? Yellow Submarine, the
Oddly.
Coke, the 7-Up bottle with the bubbles coming out, the commercial. He
Yeah.
did like Continental Airline. He did ship. He's like the number one, Janis Joplin's buggy. It worth like 500 million, right? So
Yeah.
I play all Peter's parties, and it was like on the west side, and they had a party. And when you were there playing, everybody was there. I mean, the bass player would say, "Who is that?" I would say, "I don't know, but I've seen them like on a soap opera,
Yeah.
And Robin Quivers, I got to know her from there. She would show up all the time. Morgan Spurlock from Super Size Me was there. Moby was there all the time. It just went on and on. So anyway, Janie Chase is Chevy's wife, was on the board of a foundation that Mary Max, Peter's wife, was on. So she would show up. And one night I'm playing, and the bass player said, "Look, Chevy Chase just walked in." And you can't miss him. He had gray hair, the big dimple,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
tall. He's
Yeah.
tall. He's like,
Like
Yeah.
as tall
he's
as
like
me?
6'4". No,
Oh,
he's like
a little
6
taller than me. I'm
eh,
5'11".
Not by much. But anyway, so I knew he was going to come over because we're playing. I'm with some real heavyweights, man. Like Chuggy Carter is he was with everybody, like on congas. I have great players. And Chevy comes over, and he's like bored. And he sits down at a love seat right in front of us, this red love seat. Next to that is a piano that Ringo Starr gave to Peter Max because he was a Beatles artist. And it had this star. I thought it was a Jewish star, And I found out later Ringo had given him the piano, and that was his signature.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Hmm.
I get done playing, and we're doing jazz. And I knew Chevy loved jazz. So I get off the set. I walk over. He's like right in front of me. He's sitting there. I said, "Chevy, I think we know the same person." And he said, "Who?" I said, "Arlen Roth." Arlen was a celebrity guitar player with Simon and Garfunkel, very wealthy guitar player,
Okay,
lived
yeah.
next to Chevy. And
Okay.
he said, "Oh yeah, I know. Sit down, sit down." So I'm sitting with Chevy, and Chevy, somebody walks by and says, "Chevy, you look familiar." And he says, "I feel familiar." I mean, he just had that type of mind, So we
Yeah,
start talking.
He really does.
He
Love it.
does. So we start talking. I'm looking up to him. I'm like on his left. I'm looking up the whole time. And I'm here. I'm really with Chevy Chase. And he's talking about Johnny Carson. He's
Yeah.
talking about Buddy Rich. He's
Yeah.
talking about, he played with Steely Dan at one time, drums. He's talking about himself the whole time.
Sure.
So he says, what's your name? And I said, Bob Miles. And he says, I know you. And I'm like, immediately, no, you don't. Like, you don't know me. And he said, yeah, I read your columns. I'm here. Oh my God. I forgot. At the time I wrote for Just Jazz Guitar or Jazz Improv magazine. Jazz
so cool.
Improv went to all the Barnes and Nobles and all the Borders. It was really a heavy duty magazine, came with 2 deep CDs, and it was like for professionals, right?
Yeah.
And I had a column in there, and whenever it came out, and he knew me, had my picture up in the corner.
Yeah.
And he said, I read columns. I'm here. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So he said, you know, I just put out a jazz piano CD. I said, well, I know you play jazz piano. Would you be a guest? He said, if you come up to Martha's Vineyard, if you can get a camera crew, I'll be on your show. I said, okay, how do we make this happen? He said, well, Alan Icorn is my manager. So I write and I get the number. And so it's the same week I had Jackie on my show. So the next week, Jackie calls me and says, you will not believe this. I said, what? He said, I had lunch with Tom Bernard today. Tom Bernard is the CEO of Sony Pictures Classics. Doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah.
And he said, I was having lunch and he told me he just did a guitar movie called It Might Get Loud with Jack White, The Edge, and Jimmy Page. And it's hitting all the theaters and would like to know if you would like to have Davis Guggenheim, the director, it's a documentary film, on my show because they want to promote it. They had no TV exposure. They had like, you know, print and stuff. I said, are you kidding me? I said, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So, and you can see this, it's on YouTube. So man, this is a true story. I'm at my studio. I had put my show into all these outlets that would air my show on their public access. Like I found a website called CATV, and it has all the public access outlets in the world. I mean, Russia, it doesn't matter. And so I handpicked LA, Napa Valley, a place in Arizona because Fender was out there. I was an endorser for Fender. I wanted them to see it. Okay. I handpicked like the best places. So I'm waiting on LA. I mailed it out to them and I'm thinking I'll never get into LA. And I call Alan Icorn and Alan picks up the phone. I'm calling him about Chevy Chase. And he said, Bob, I was just about to call you. I'm thinking, wow, this is cool. And he said, yeah, he said, I represent Tom Bernard and Davis Guggenheim about putting Davis Guggenheim on your show. And I said, well, I was calling you. I was going to call you about, or who's calling who? I'm all mixed up. So
you're calling him.
Yeah, I'm calling him. I said, I was calling you about Chevy Chase. So that never even happened. And we never even talked about that. He said, look, I'm going to try to get The Edge, Jimmy Page, and Jack White to come to Sony. Can you come up to Sony in New York and film Davis? He's coming in one day and we have other people interviewing him. But first, I want you to come up and see the movie. And they have a studio there. So I went up, saw the movie with like 10 other people, with like probably Rolling Stone magazine, other people, right? And so I leave, and I'm on cloud 9. So we set a date. I get the date to go up. I take a cameraman, and all I could get was a handheld mic. And you can see this on YouTube. I'm like really embarrassed because I'm with Davis Guggenheim.
Yeah.
He did an Inconvenient Truth with Al Gore. He did that documentary.
Yeah.
He's married to Elizabeth Shue from Fearless.
What?
Ferris Bueller's. Yeah, he's married to her.
He's married to Elizabeth Shue from Karate Kid?
And I'm pretty sure he's related to Guggenheim. That's how he got all his money to do the documentaries, like the Guggenheim Museum, right? Damn. So, a really cool guy. So I went up. I'm the only guy there to interview him for television, right? So anyway, here's the story. God is my witness. I got my phone from the studio and a cell phone. And I'm I got too many phones.
What year is this?
This goes back 15 years ago, maybe. Whenever the movie
so like
came
2008-ish.
whenever whenever it might get loud came out, right?
Okay.
So Alan asked me, "Are you on in
2008.
LA? Are you in LA?" And I said, "No, I'm not. As God is my witness, this is how things worked for me all the time. It was unbreakable. My phone starts to ring and I'm on with Alan and I let it go. So I hang up with him. I pick it up. It's LA 36. And I call them and she says, "Congratulations. You're the first guy without a residency in LA to ever get on our local channel. And to get on the LA 36, you have to remember, that's where all the celebrities had their kids playing football. So they all watched it, right?"
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I call
Oh my
Alan,
God.
I call Alan Icorn or whatever it is back. I'm getting old. I'm getting dementia. So
It's
anyway,
okay.
I call him back and I get his secretary and she won't put him on the phone. And I said, "Just tell him I just hung up with him. Yes, I air in LA." So then after I filmed Davis Guggenheim, then they started to call me and they said, "Can you do me a favor? We're releasing the movie in select theaters. And one of them is in LA on such and such a date. Can you get your show to air before we have the film released?" So I called LA 36 and said, "Look, I have a Davis Guggenheim. Can you do that?" And I don't even know these people. I used to have to mail DVDs out to them because they wanted one a week. So, and they said, "Yeah." So they aired the show. And as God is my witness, Thomas Tull, the Ant Bully he did 10,000 BC, like major producer, right? He's a major guitar player. Davis watched my show from his living room with him on it, with him on the show, and told me he loved it. And that was unbelievable. That was like, I couldn't believe I'm airing in LA. Thomas Tull could see my show. Davis Guggenheim watches my show. So get this, and you can see this on YouTube. Davis asked me, I'm asking him, "What's the next documentary you're doing?" And he says, "I don't know, Bob, what would you do in a documentary?" And I said, "Jazz guitar. I love jazz guitar." He said, "Okay, God is my witness." You remember Tavis Smiley? The
No.
Tavis Smiley show on PBS?
No.
He was on
Sounds
for
familiar.
years. Yeah, he was big on PBS. He got kicked off for the Me Too movement. So anyway, I'm getting dressed like at 5 a.m. I know this is going on way too long.
It's
This
all right.
interview.
Keep going. Keep going.
I'm getting dressed, and Davis is on in LA with Tavis, and it's tremendous production. You can watch it, I guess, on YouTube if you want.
Yeah.
And he says to Davis, "What's the next documentary?" And Davis said, "I might do one on jazz guitar." And I said, "Janet, he stole my line. He stole this little guy from Pennsylvania who's nobody. He stole my line." I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. Honestly. So yeah. So that was cool. So yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that
So-
is a
That's so
trip.
fun.
So when
Holy smokes.
anyway, when I'm filming Davis, we get done and we're talking and we're hanging out. And Davis, I told him I knew Les Paul and was friends with him. He said, "Oh my God." He said, "If you could ever get me an introduction to him, you think these celebrities don't need it?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." I said, "The next
You
time
think they
you're
all
in-
have like a Rolodex?
They
you
don't. They don't. So
Yeah.
I said, "The next time you're here, call me and I'll take you out to him and we'll go backstage." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So I gave him my number. Like, I'll tell you when it was. A month or two later, or 6 months later, Les Paul dies. And it never happened. It was right around that time Les died. So I'm here. "Oh, you had to die
Bummer.
on me." Yeah, he was like 9.
God damn it, Les Paul.
Right, come back from the dead for this one.
Yeah, you
one-
couldn't have
one
waited a
favor.
month, you bastard.
Right, you bastard. Yeah. So anyway, it never happened. So my best friend is not Davis. So
It's all right.
yeah.
Your best
so,
friend's Janet.
so that's my Chevy Chase story, and nothing ever that died on the vine. But
Ah.
it was really cool how everything kind of meshed together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, okay. I'll tell you what, Bob, this interview has fucking delivered. This has been a blast, but
So
we're
fun.
coming close to the top of time. But I just wanted to say, man, usually me and Jan and Justin, we're all on the same page with this. But we would love to have you back on the show. if
Oh,
you'd
I'd
be
love
willing
to do
come
it.
back.
I love to do it. Can I finish with one more story?
Dude, you
All
can
right.
go. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I got one
hit
more.
us. Hit us.
Well, I had Bernie Marston on the show, and Bernie's from Whitesnake. He wrote the song. You played it all the time, man. It was on when we bought.
What? Here I go again on
Here
my
I
own?
go again. He wrote
Yeah.
that. Right. So anyway,
Here I go again.
so
on
you
my
figure
own.
the
Yeah.
80 rock guys, leather,
Yeah,
spandex,
big
long
hair.
black hair.
Yeah.
Bernie's comes on, man. He looks like your grandfather's grandfather. He's got like a Prince Valiant haircut, all gray, really out of shape. Like, pack the pounds on. You never know it was him. You would never,
Yeah.
ever in all your wildest dreams know it was him. But he loved to talk. It was such an easy interview. It was amazing. So anyway, I said, what's a really funny story? He said, well, when we would tour, we'd be in all different countries, all different languages, and we'd go out to a bar to have dinner and drink, and we'd have too many. So whatever hotel we're in or bed and breakfast, I would take a matchbook with me that would have the address of it. So I
Okay.
would give that to the taxi cab driver.
Smart.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
That is actually pretty smart.
it's
Yeah.
very smart. So, and they'd be drunk, and high
Yeah.
and whatever. So taxi comes, he picks him up, he gives him the matchbook. Like an hour later, they end up in this industrial park with all these factories and all dirt roads and stuff. And he's here, what are we doing? And the taxi cab driver opens the matchbook, points to it, and he points to the address the matchbook was made at the factory. The matches were made. Yeah.
And this was in like Eastern
Amazing.
Europe somewhere.
Somewhere in the world. He takes him to a
Ugh.
factory. Yeah.
Ugh.
Isn't that funny?
Could you imagine
That's
being
amazing.
I would be like, what is where am I being murdered? Like, this is crazy. Also, this is a $400 taxi ride.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
like-
but they can spend that. I mean,
Yeah,
come on,
yeah.
they
Yeah.
have more money than they know what to do with. So
oh yeah.
yeah. But I can go on. I'm just looking at my notes here, man. So many stories. I mean, John Oates, Johnny Winter. I have so many funny stories. It just goes
mean,
on and on.
You can
Oates
throw. We
went
We'll
got,
have to do a part 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oates went to
with-
North Penn, right?
yeah.
John did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
What-
on 3 times. I had him on
What
3
do you
times.
got? Okay, we'll do Johnny Oates, and then we'll go to
Okay,
Diva.
okay,
Yeah, what do you
so
got for
I
Johnny?
got
Because he's
Johnny-
a local guy.
Only reason I got Johnny is my friend went to High Point in Chalfont, and Johnny's mother worked out there. So if you want somebody, go to their mother.
Or their
So,
publicist.
yeah, or their publicist. So I don't know who called who, but I talked to him that afternoon after his mother grabbed him by the ear and pulled him. So we first did the first interview at the Sellersville, and we met with the owner of this, William Quigley of the Sellersville. So John booked his show there, and we went to the show. It was sold out, and he said, "I'm here tonight because I did an interview with Bob Miles." So that was so nice. John did not have to say that,
Yeah.
So the next show we do at the Mann Music Center, and it's below, all the dressing rooms are below stage. So he said, "Do you want to meet Kenny Loggins?" This is after we film. I said, "Absolutely." And Janet's with me, and it's like 3 PM, and Kenny's doing a sound check. So we walk up on stage, and Kenny's singing, and this security guy comes over. And he says, "Do you have any clearance? Who are you?" And I said, "I'm just this host." He said, "You can't come on." I'm with John, and he wouldn't let us. So that got kiboshed.
Oh.
Third time, I filmed him at the Cutting Room in New York. He came on, and it was so funny. We had to stop filming because I had snot coming out my nose and running down my lips.
Oh,
And
golly.
John says, "Bob, are you high?" I said, "No, I don't smoke. I really don't." I said, "No." He said, "It's okay if you do because you're a musician and you get a pass on it." I said, "No." And so I said, "I just need to compose myself." And we're just laughing like 2 schoolgirls.
Yeah.
And he turns to me and he says, "You know what? I'm going to make up a T-shirt that says Oates, better than pot."
It's,
And so I got back to work the next couple days, and there's a girl I work with that makes T-shirts on the side. She made me 2, and I mailed them to his home in Colorado. And he wrote me a
Aw.
thank you. And it says oats, better than pot.
Oh man.
So yeah, so that was
Yeah,
cool.
shout out. I like to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah.
Oates, North Penn alum.
He is. Yeah, wrestler too. Wrestler.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Oh
Nice.
yeah, wrestled. Yeah.
Nice. So, all right. Well, honestly, Bob, this was a fucking blast, dude.
It was. Man.
I mean, we can't wait to have you back on for part 2. There's so much we didn't cover. A mob run restaurant that you worked at, the funeral home we barely touched, Kmart, all this stuff. So, but before we get out of here, is there anything you want to say to your adoring fan base before we take off?
Just that you are, and I'm not kissing up to you, man. You are like the most awesome coach that whipped me into shape. You are amazing, man. You are a credit.
Brother.
You are a credit to Henzo Gracie's. You really are, man.
No, that's nice.
So that's all. And you let an old guy like work out and with like 20-year-olds to get the crap beat out of them. You know.
You're the best, man.
You were always in my corner. So thank you. Thank you.
It's easy to be in your corner, brother. You're a great dude.
Thank you.
Hey, of course, man.
Love you,
for
pal.
saying that. Hey, right back at you, buddy. Jana, the Heartbreaker Hehlo, anything you want to say to the Heartbreaker fanatics out there?
Yeah, sorry I won't be seeing you guys tonight. I'll be with Bob.
Baby. Yeah,
202 West Fair.
yeah.
The enemy, sir.
And then Jalen Derb, anything you want to say to the Dubbinatics before we get out of here?
I'm with Jana, yo. I want to get drunk with Bob, yo. He sounds like fun, yo.
Bob legit sounds
After
like
the show, it's the
Me and Bob get along like two
Bob,
people in the pod, yo.
Bob is you in 20. That like Bob is your like you in 20 years.
Yeah, if I turn out like Bob, it'd be a goddamn blessing.
Yeah, how about it? Oh my god.
I leave you with the best weekend update sign off is I'm Jesse Chase and you're not.
That's true.
It's the best fucking sign off there.
Oh,
It
he's
is.
the
It
greatest.
is. You do know one last thing? He was only on for one season.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it.
And Bill Murray, people think Bill Murray was
Could've taken
original
Bill.
cast, but he wasn't.
No.
And
no.
they
Who do you think would have won a fight, Chevy or Bill?
Well, they
Chevy,
apparently
he's
they did fight, but it was like
Did they?
broken up. Yeah.
He got broken up
appar-
by his brother.
So the
Yeah, right.
the rumor has it. Like,
Go.
think about this: Stripes, Caddyshack,
'Cause
Fleck, like all of that had come out like in that time period. So Chevy Chase and Bill Murray are legit like 1 and 2 top funniest people in like top funniest movie stars in the world at this point, right? So Chevy was on SNL. Apparently, he was kind of a douche to deal with. He comes back the next year. Bill Murray is now on the show, right? And Chevy came back to host. And apparently, like he came back trying to be the big swinging dick, and Murray just wasn't having it. And he said some shit. I don't know. Rumor has it he said something about Murray's acne scars, and Murray, like that's a dick move. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah, you shouldn't say shit like that. And I think Murray just fucking like because Murray's from the Chicago street guy, so he's fucking ready to throw down. Fucking Bill Murray. I would like to think Bill Murray won just because he's fucking Bill Murray.
He's too flilly.
You think it
Bill
went the distance?
fucking Murray.
I don't think either know how to fight.
Yeah, no, God.
I really
it's
don't.
it's two comedians
very high
fighting.
on cocaine.
Right.
Yeah.
Two high rich people fighting, in 30 Rock Studios hallways.
Yeah. I'm
Hey,
sure they just were like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Hey, you guys do an awesome show. You got awesome chemistry. And
Oh.
Matt, you're an awesome host, man. Unbelievable. You're
you're
going to
the
go
best.
far. You're going to
No.
go far.
You're
Thank
the best,
you.
Bob. No, man,
Thank
thank you
you.
for saying that. Well, speaking of awesome chemistry and an awesome host, this has been another episode of the Working Perspectives podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, and I'm accompanied today by Jalen Dub, Justin Richardson, the Heartbreaker, Jana Hehlo, and our guest today is the man, the myth, the fucking best, Bob Miles. In case you're wondering, you can find all our stuff and all our content on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can also on Instagram, Working Perspectives Podcast, and you can join us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working PE Pod. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email us at workingperspectives@gmail.com. And please like and subscribe so we can keep this party going. Thanks for listening, and stick around for the ad read. Thanks. See ya. Do you have a message or a story inside of you that you've been waiting to tell? Have you always dreamed of writing a book but are intimidated by the complexities of the book publishing world? Perhaps you want to use a book to launch your public speaking or consulting career. If so, please reach out to Scott and Bell Publishing, located right here in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Scott and Bell Publishing handle all genres and authors with all experience levels. Scott and Bell Publishing gives authors 100% creative freedom and a higher royalty split. They can be found at www.skotbell.com. That's www.s as in Sam, K as in Kite, O as in October, T as in Tom, B as in Boy, E as in Edward, L as in Larry, L as in Larry.com. That's Scott and Bell Publishing, where the authors go.